Over the past year, DC has had a really great time exploring several elements of the Superman mythology and creating some new scenarios for one of their oldest characters. I had a great time experiencing Superman's quest to liberate WarWorld with the Authority over in the pages of Action Comics, as well as Superman and the Authority. And I just absolutely was enthralled by Jonathan Kent's journey in Superman Son of Kal-El as he did battle with not only Lex Luthor, but Henry Bendix from the Wildstorm universe. All of these plot threads are coalescing in the upcoming Action Comics 1050, which is actually one of my favorite Superman comics of the year. My name is Arakko, Braddock, and today let's go ahead and see just how great Action Comics 1050 is. And let's take a look and see how this one issue is going to set up the future of 3 upcoming DC Comics titles. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy our content. And if you want to support us even further, why not go ahead and leave a like button over on this video. Without further ado, I want to introduce some of the context behind Action Comics 1050 with DC Comics solicitation text that they wrote for the issue. The Dark Crisis is over and a new dawn shines on the DCU. In the wake of cataclysmic battles with Mongul, Henry Bendix, and Pariah's Dark Army, Kal-El is back on Earth and here to stay. And the people of our planet are ready to look up, and away into a brighter tomorrow. Well, most of the people. Clark Kent's reunion with Lois and his son John Kent proves fleeting when strikes the ultimate attack from Superman's greatest adversary, Lex Luthor. But this time something is different. Luthor has stolen something from Clark's life, something so important that it will change the very planet itself. If you think you've seen the biggest battle between Superman and Lex Luthor, think again. The clash will rock the course of their lives forever, and it's only the beginning. 2 years worth of Superman stories have come to a head in this oversized anniversary issue with all-star talent that launches Superman and the DCU into an exciting new era. And next up, I want to go ahead and introduce the creative team for Action Comics 1050, as it's quite extensive. So this issue is written by Phillip Kennedy Johnson, Tom Taylor, and Joshua Williamson. The art in the issue is illustrated from Mike Perkins, Clayton Henry, and Nick Dragotta. The entire issue is colored by Frank Martin, lettered by Dave Sharpe, and we have a cover over from Steve Beach that I'm going to show off right now. Here is the cover from Steve Beach for Action Comics 1050. I just love how kind of like victorious this pose with Superman, flying up in the air is. It's just really kind of iconic and great to see. I've been loving Steve Beach's covers over on Action Comics lately over at DC. Let's kick our review off by taking a look at one of the first stories in this collection. And actually, this first story happens to be one of my absolute favorite. I love the way that this storyline is able to utilize elements of DC continuity like Manchester Black in really interesting ways. I don't want to give away kind of the central premise behind this issue, but this essentially has to do with Superman's identity being revealed in the previous run on the title. And DC has kind of a new resolution for this that's incredibly creative that involves Manchester Black. And I love it when Action Comics has kind of stepped away lately and has really fleshed out kind of like the backstory, relationships, and dynamics between all of the villains in this story. It feels like Manchester Black, Lex Luthor, and Superman are all playing some sort of extremely deadly cat and mouse game. And this is some of the best writing just in general I've seen Action Comics flesh out with some of the villains. But as you can tell, the most important part of this sequence is some of the artistic elements of the issue, because the expressions from Lex Luthor and Manchester Black over from Mike Perkins is really what got me sold on this story in the first place. I think Mike Perkins is one of the darkest artists that you'll see this side of a Superman comic book, but for an basically for a scene that's centered around so many different villains in the issue, this was like the perfect artist to employ for this story. And I just love kind of like the global implications for the Superman family. We've gotten a couple Superman comics lately, like, Superman Kal-El Returns, that have just felt like monumental stepping stones into the overall nature of what DC has to offer. But in Action Comics 1050, there's actually quite a few really big and really important plot developments that I know we will see be fleshed out very far in some of the other Superman titles. So following this kind of first scene with some of the Superman villains, we switch over and get some gorgeous, lush art from Clayton Henry, which is a really good kind of like tone switch, because now it's time to experience what Jonathan Kent is going through. And it seems like this storyline is really going to be the lead up to the Adventures of Superman story with Jonathan Kent coming very soon from DC Comics. I had a great time with this story as well. I thought it was paced really, really well and had some just kind of like really nice and innocent interactions between some of the DC characters. I enjoyed how much of the themes of the overall issue are kind of utilized here. And even though this issue was written by 3 different people, the way that some of the themes carry over from story to story really help this issue in particular feel cohesive. What I'm hoping that DC is going to be able to do is make all 3 of these upcoming Superman books, being Superman, Action Comics, and the final title is going to be the Jonathan Kent book. But I really hope that all these titles, even though they're probably going to have maybe slightly different tones, do feel a little bit more cohesive. Now, I really enjoyed kind of like the earthly nature of this, but I was also struck in this kind of next sequence by some of the art from Nick Dragotta. Nick Dragotta doesn't draw many interiors over in comics, so whenever I see Dragatta's art, I always know it's going to be something special. The way Dragotta like lays out some of the detail in the background, the way that some of his expressions are just so cartoony and bombastic, make it just so interesting to look at every page he turns in. Sometimes when artists take this many chances, it can be incredibly difficult to follow like the actual story in the issue. But thankfully, by against seemingly all odds, Dragotta is just so fantastic at making the page just kind of flow and making the issue incredibly easy to read, no matter how many different artistic choices are taken in the issue. I love the fact that DC included this massive fight sequence between Lex Luthor and Superman that they essentially gave to Nick Dragotta to illustrate. This is like one of the longest sequences in the issue and is just so incredibly beautiful. And then the issue kind of leaves readers off with a look at the kind of future of several different Superman titles that we talked about earlier. And I really enjoyed these kind of last final pages. It seems like kind of all the Superman writers just carry one Easter egg that they're going to introduce towards the end of this issue and carry on over to their future titles. I was just absolutely shocked at how well this issue was structured and how many kind of like touch points there are for Dawn of DC. I especially liked how on the very last page of the issue, we're basically told exactly where to go next. We're told that this storyline is going to be continued in Action Comics and that Dawn of DC begins next month. So I was absolutely shocked here at just how cohesive Action Comics 1050 was. I think that this gives so much mileage for the Superman franchise to really explore several new plot directions over in 2023. I think each of these Superman titles now have at least one plot point that I'm looking forward to exploring in upcoming titles. But I want to know from you, did you like Action Comics 1050 as much as I did? Which of these 3 titles are you most interested in reading from DC? And is there one big plot point that's going to have you coming back for more over in Dawn of DC? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video, and we'll be back really soon for more excellent comic book content. We'll see you soon. Bye.